pull it up and play it here.
Can I? Let's find out. Can he do it in under 5 minutes? It's so funny. I don't know why it's so funny.
It's so funny.
Watch I say this,
I...
and you won't find it funny at all.
Oh, no. I'll find it hilarious.
Why did that not send?
There you go. I just sent you a request to join my Instagram live. Hey, you know what I forgot to do?
No, what?
Share a little countdown so people know what's going on.
Got a little countdown.
Ha, hilarious.
Oh, but
That's
I look
right.
so fat on Instagram Live. You ever have that problem? Hilarious is hilarious. Okay, does this open up? It does. Oh, it does. It does.
So, do I need to stop sharing?
Yeah.
So I'm going to remove this, and then you can pop yours in there. Morning, Steve.
Oh, Dad, don't watch this. You won't find it funny. Oh, why is it so tiny? Oh, I wish I could make it bigger. Oh, well.
I have turned water into wine. What's wrong? He's done Merlot again. What's wrong with Merlot? What's right with Merlot? Jesus? Yeah? Can you do me something else? Like what? Like a Malbec or a Pinot Noir or something? Yeah, no, I can't do those ones, I'm afraid. What about like a Rioja or... Oh, I'd have a Rioja. No, I can't do Rioja. I mean, I'd settle for like Chateau Neuf de Pape. Just drink it. I could probably do a Shiraz. And lo, I have turned water.
Oh,
I think the more times I watch that, the funnier it gets because you start looking around in the back and you realize he's playing all the characters. And so he had to stand there and be like,
that is funny.
he's done it again. He's made a Merlot. What's wrong with Merlot? What's right with Merlot? It's funny because I know nothing about wine, so. But I don't know. I just thought it was funny.
There's some little hidden gems you can find in some of those areas, right?
There's a very
TikTok.
fine line of religious humor that you have to walk where it's not really mocking, but it's like some little things like that.
Where it's not really mocking; it's just kind of mocking.
Yeah, but like not in a disrespectful way.
The Babylon Bee walks that line.
You know, recently I feel like they have, for me, they've like not like in a way that it offends me, where I'm just like, yeah, that's not funny. That's just like you're more just pulling at the scab than you are, kind of a thing. So that personally, I haven't found them as funny since the pandemic.
Yeah, and I guess
Not enough to unfollow, but
funny is kind of a hard word too, because it was only funny because it hit on enough truth that it was like, that's really pointed.
yeah.
And I want to laugh, but I'm afraid of laughing.
Dad, are you saying like Monty Python is funny, or are you saying that that video was Monty Python? He's done it again. He's made a Merlot. It is. I mean, to me, it's kind of funny because it's like, what kind of wine did Jesus make? Did they have different wines back then, or did they just have wine?
Oh,
like
that's
they drank
a good question.
Drank it so much that they have time to let it ferment longer.
I doubt they even thought about it. And on that note, we will go.
Till we're all growing a beard. A man's face should never be bare. We just want some facial hair. We're anticipating, yeah, everyone's waiting for a beard.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Tuesday morning, which means this is another episode of Behind the Beards. Here on Behind the Beards, we try to take a look behind the scenes and reveal the things that you need to know about your ministers and your ministry leaders. I am Josh Fowler,
Does that work?
a preaching minister at the in Baton Rouge, and my friend, my brother Aaron Partlow is a youth minister in
Comedy Relief,
View, Texas. Yeah. What is new in Longview? How you getting settled into the house, man?
We at some point we have to stop asking that question, right? It's like
it's only been a few weeks though, so
it's like 6 now. I'm past the point of. Anyway, we just had our senior Sunday at our congregation. Do you guys have a senior Sunday planned? Do you have any seniors graduating? If you don't have any high school seniors graduating, do you just recognize all the old people in your church and call it Senior Sunday anyway? Questions that I need to know.
We do have a senior Sunday, sort of. We have a senior series of Sundays. I guess typically in the past, at least, we've had kind of a big celebration where we kind of have a cake and a fellowship afterwards and honor them. But mostly what our senior Sunday consists of is we put a little booth outside in the hallway so people can set their stuff up and brag on their kids for a little bit. And we provide a basket or a bag for people to leave cards in. And then I put a little article in our newsletter about the things that they have upcoming. We also try to include, we have several folks in college, so we use that to reward our college graduates as well. Recognize the accomplishments they've made, and just those folks that are kind of moving into the next phase of life. So
yeah,
our youth group is rather small. We have four graduating seniors this year, so it's not bad.
That's a big. I mean, if you have a small youth group, that's a big chunk to be graduating.
It is. We got a lot of young kids in the pipeline. It takes so long to build a youth program. Mm-hmm. That when you show up and you have a small core to work with, you really have to work on those young ones down the line. So it's hard to get kids that are already connected in some ways. Like for a lot of my kids when I first got here, their youth group was their Christian school that they went to.
Right.
That's kind of where they got their friends, their connections, and that kind of stuff. So
interesting.
You got to kind of build a whole new culture from the ground up.
Well, I preached my first Sunday at Pine Tree. On our senior Sunday, we had our seniors kind of come forward. We have like these 2 stairs to step up onto our stage. So I had the seniors all stand on the first stair, and our shepherds stood behind them and prayed over them, and blessed them and their accomplishments. Then I had them all. They loved this part. I had all our seniors sit on the front row, and then I preached to them and at them for our charge on Senior Sunday. Yeah, and then I had them participate in the end of the sermon, so it was even better. So I was really scoring points. But I preached two services, which was interesting, and I'd done that before, but lead singing it at 3 services in Kansas at one point.
Dude, preaching in multiple services is so. The second service, every time I would go through it, I was like, I'm lost. Oh, wait. Was that an hour ago or was that 5 minutes ago that I did this? Did I already tell this joke? Do I tell the same jokes?
Right? Yeah, is it
the
okay?
one went over really well in the first time, in the first service, but it's liable to flop in the second service. So
Is it okay to change your sermon a little bit for the second service?
I had to.
know.
It just felt so disingenuous to me to just, and that's just a personal thing, I couldn't really connect with it. Fun stuff though.
Yeah, so that's new for us.
And you preach your first Sunday, and you still have a job.
I still have a job. Actually, I am now preaching a couple more Sundays in the summer, so I think I did something wrong.
That's not the way it was supposed to work, right?
That's not the way it was supposed to work.
Also, another difficult task, especially with a new work and a new venture, is trying to figure out how to motivate volunteers, right?
For sure. Or even
how
get
to
volunteers.
True. How to get people to come in and really help you create something unique and special when not only are you getting to know the kids, you're also just getting to know the parents, the people that are in the church, and trying to figure out what it is that really inspires people to say, you know what, I think I want to come be a part of that.
Right. Yeah.
Do you have any special names you call your volunteers? Like I call mine volunteer.
Volunteer?
Volunteer. Hey, would anyone like to volunteer? Maybe that's why I'm not very good at getting volunteers because I don't have any cool names for them.
That's probably true. So, I always sometimes I kind of try to stay away from cheesy ministry things, like special titles or special names, like, oh, you're going to be the, and just be like, no, just you're a volunteer. It's fine. But I did preach a sermon, not too long ago. Well, I guess it was a long time ago. It was over a year ago or more than 2 years ago. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I went to an NCYM class, and David Blanchard was the teacher, and he was teaching, and he was talking about this whole different idea of inspiring and empowering people who volunteer in your church. And he says, well, the first thing that we did was if I wanted my volunteers to be meaningful and I wanted them to engage, then I needed to stop asking them. I need to stop calling them certain things, because if I call them a volunteer, it means that, hey, I just want you for this one-time commitment. And then he would go on and he said, and if I would call them sponsors, hey, we need sponsors for this, then that means that I just want somebody who can pay the way for a child, or if I want a chaperone, the first thing I think of when somebody says chaperone is the high school dance, and I want them to stand on the corner, like those guys in our church service who just always stand in the vestibule, in the foyer, kind of an area.
The fun monger, right? The fun killer.
Or if I wanted to be a counselor, there might be some mentoring there, or some, right? But I think it's it's just not what we want. So I started, and I haven't run with it here at Pine Tree yet. Maybe because I haven't really had a full conversation and talk right into it. But I started calling them, Sherpas, based off of David Blanchard's thing. I didn't come up with this, and he said it was a great way because Sherpa, when you think of a Sherpa, that's somebody who is climbing up, or is guiding you climbing up a mountain. That's what they are those guides. They've done it before. They're better trained, better prepared, all these kind of things. And so, and then he broke it down and he said Sherpa stands for, I want them to see our kids. I want them to hear our kids. I want them to engage with our kids. I want them to reflect on all the events and all the things. I really want them to pray. And then I really want them to affirm. And so I was okay, well, I can't really argue with that. Those are all really great things. And when you think of wanting somebody to volunteer with your group, yeah, you want somebody who's going to be there and engage with the kids. You want somebody who's going to want to pray for them, to affirm them. You don't want somebody who's just going to be working security or any of that kind of stuff. You want that extra mile. And more than a volunteer, like, we talk more like as a church body, like, hey, we're a family and we do this stuff together. And like, this is one of those ways that we can go up that next level, of just being better. So that's my thoughts. What's the cool name you call your volunteers, Josh?
Let's move on to our next section. No,
That's right.
no, I think it is a really fair point that people will respond to our expectation. And
Right.
we can really communicate our expectation with something as simple as a name, right? Something as simple as, whether it is volunteer or chaperone or sponsor. We don't go to camp and get camp babysitters. We get camp counselors. And there's an expectation that comes with those. So I really like, we talk about having specific names for our kids, and those names mean something. We name our youth groups, and those names come along with.
Well, we even name special people in our church,
Right.
like deacons and elders and preachers, and because we want them to do something specifically that goes with that title.
Yeah. And so having something that really defines the expectation, I think it does two things. Number one, I think it gives people a space where they're willing to volunteer, because if I know what's expected of me, I'm more likely to volunteer to help you. But also it gets the right kind of people to volunteer because they know what's expected. And once they know that, some people will go, oh, yeah, I'll just send you money because that's not me. It's not everyone's gift,
Right.
to be able to do that in a way that's constructive. I think about my own kids, and in raising them, that if I'm always telling them that, they're losers and never going to amount to anything, and all they do is always disappoint me, then at some point, if they continue to hear that message, they're going to stop trying to do anything different, and they just kind of surrender to the labels that we have assigned them. And I think the same can be true for all the things that go on, and we're talking about churches, but this is true anywhere. If you have employees or coworkers or family members, if a message is pounded into our minds enough, we'll eventually surrender to it.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, it's important to really set those expectations for those people that are coming to help. We talk about all of our events need some measure of volunteer participation, right? Vacation Bible School. Vacation Bible School is one of those that, you need an army of people to come and really help that go.
Yeah. We have ours coming up soon.
You get to be a volunteer this year, right?
I don't. I actually, I am volunteering, but I think I am leading the songs.
Well, I know you're leading the songs. You're the youth minister. That's like required.
Right.
That,
Yeah.
That the minister on staff gets to lead the silly songs and kind of make a fool of himself.
It's
And
my
everybody
favorite
can
thing
laugh
to
at
do,
himself.
though.
It is my favorite thing to do as well. There's something about singing the hippo song with a bunch of, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds.
That's right.
And just having a blast doing it. And watching all of the older folks in the back go, does this guy know what he's doing?
Right. Yeah.
Is this allowed?
Can I take him seriously on Sunday?
Are we supposed to actually have this much fun, doing this kind of stuff? Yes, actually, you are. And you know what makes those things super fun? Volunteers.
It's true.
Volunteers.
I was like, I don't know. What? Candy? I don't know.
Candy. Candy definitely works.
Right.
When I try to think of, there's some things I can kind of handle on my own, right? There are some things that I don't necessarily need volunteers for. Devotionals. For me, the biggest issue is always transportation.
Oh, yeah.
Once you get the kids there, I feel pretty confident handling them. Now, I will tell you where we need the most volunteers for safety reasons, is at Worlds of Fun. My wife and I took 47 kids to Worlds of Fun
Whoa.
and we were the only 2 adults.
Whoa.
I will never do that again.
Oh,
I
yeah.
spent a whole day like worrying, running all over the park, checking off kids every time I saw them, making sure I was always like, okay, here's this group, where's the next one, where's the next check-in. It was exhausting. So, there are some of those things that really require other people to come in to really help you make it safe and functional, not just fun. But it's really important for folks around the church to be involved in the things that we have going on for a whole lot of reasons. Anything worked well for you to actually recruit volunteers?
Well, no. I mean, volunteers, I feel like you almost have to like tap in to people who are already passionate about serving in those areas, right? If you're not tapping into people who are already passionate in those areas, it's pretty hard to get people to want to be involved or to serve in those areas. I don't know. Like, volunteers are really hard to come by sometimes. I think I was blessed. I've been blessed here at Pine Tree that there was like a gap between me and the last guy who was here, and so there's already been like a large group of volunteers who have stepped up to serve and be in those areas. So it's been easier to tap in to that, because as soon as I got here, they're like, well, we'll be happy to take a step back and kind of let you take over. And I was like, absolutely not. I would love to actually meet with you all and partner with y'all and kind of move forward and talk about my philosophy of youth ministry and kind of my plan for why I'm here and all that kind of stuff. And so, that was kind of like a big deal for me, because I was like, no, I need you guys to be involved. Our teens need you to be involved. They need more adults and older people who are interested in investing and having the conversations. So there's always like, those 10 minutes before. This is my little screwdriver I just found. There's always like those 10 minutes before and after class where things like start to get real serious, or and you have some of those conversations and those jokes, and then you talk about your week and all sorts of stuff. Man, those are like crucial moments for that. So for volunteers and things like that to kind of step up. Being at lock-ins and other things like that, like those are not, you talk about hard time finding volunteers. Try to find a volunteer for a lock-in. So, and I've got a story about that here after a bit.
Yeah, we'll wait for story time, right?
That's right.
One of the things that has worked well for me in the past, a couple of things. Number one is in trying to find folks to help with a scavenger hunt. It wasn't, hey, I need some help with the scavenger hunt. It was, I need some people who will, they were part of the teams, almost like a team captain. I need team captains. I need people who will drive our kids around town, because what I didn't want is I didn't want a whole bunch of teenagers racing around town trying to get the most things possible, right?
Right.
So I need some adults who are willing to drive vehicles with kids around, because you're going to be the team captain. Not only are you going to make sure everybody stays safe, but it's going to be a lot of fun while we're doing it. So they're not just these kind of fringe people, but actually the people that I need for this to go on, and you are an integral part of the fun that our kids are going to have. And that ended up being like one of the funnest things we have ever done in the way that they responded. The other is like with a lock-in is like, okay, obviously only a fool would sign up for a 12-hour lock-in. I have to be there. Yes, I am the fool. But if you can give me 2 hours, I'm going to sign you up in 2-hour slots. And here's what I need you to do during these 2 hours that you are here. Can you give me 2 hours? And so, And then some people got there and said, you know what, I signed up for 2, but this is a lot of fun. I think I'm going to hang out for a little bit. And then the next time when it came around to sign up again, they weren't quite as standoffish because the expectations were there. And so I think you have to understand who it is that you're trying to recruit. Give me an objection so I can overcome it kind of a mentality.
Man, theory crafting lock-ins is there is a real science to it. So, like, I don't know, like a good lock-in starts with a good driving scavenger hunt, right? Because how do you convince teens to stay inside of a building for 12 hours? Well, you do it by starting it off by sending them out for 2 hours and get all that energy out. So, and those scavenger hunts are so great. Then I always had them come back. We did a devotional after the scavenger hunt. We eat some food. We maybe play one game. And then here is my secret lock-in advice for anybody, if you can afford it and you can do it. I took all the kids to a midnight showing of a movie. I never plan a lock-in if it's not going to line up with a midnight showing of a movie. Right? So 11:30 rolls around. I've got those chaperones, those Sherpas. No, these are actual chaperones. Showing up and driving kids to the movie theater where we watch a 2.5-2-hour movie. And then I bring them back to the church building. And so I break it up into those increments. And then we play games, do talent shows, and all sorts of other stuff. Because then by that time, it's almost 1 a.m., 2 a.m. So you only got about 5 hours to fill. So you got a couple games and a couple things to kind of fill that time slot.
And then your adults can take a nap during the movie, and
That's
they're
right.
refreshed and ready to go when it's time to go back to the building.
Or I always have so they stay for the scavenger hunt, the Devo, the movie, and then my second wave comes in, meets us at the church after the movie. I used to have one parent couple who's told me, they said, hey, I hate lock-ins, but I'll be there at 5 a.m. and cook everyone breakfast.
Done.
And you know what really recharges a lock-in? Bacon.
That's
and
right.
the smell of bacon and eggs and all sorts of stuff. So they'd show up at like 4:30, 5 a.m. and they would start cooking breakfast, and everyone would get to like eat and fill their bellies with something other than chips and soda. And and it was good. It was good.
Yeah, it is so important to have those people come in to be a part in, and it's important to have them teaching as well. But I like what you said about the investment into their lives.
Right.
They need to see our kids, and really our people as a whole, need to see that there are people who are willing to invest their time, their energy, their effort into the things that are going on. They expect me and you to, because we're paid staff.
Right.
I mean, we have to do that. When people volunteer their time, the impact that it has on our ministries and on our churches it's really not something you can put a value on. And I'll tell you, more often than not, my volunteers completely revolutionize the events that we create. And in a wholly good and positive way. It is never or rarely ever something that I have planned for, because
Right.
you just can't plan for those kind of things. But they come in and they start doing things, and it's like, I don't know how to let go of control of this, but I'm going to. And when I have the wisdom to turn that over and to let it go, if someone's willing to come in and invest their time, if they're willing to do that, then they deserve the freedom to use that time to impact them in the way that they have been led to. And man, there's been some powerful things that have transpired when I just got out of the way and let my volunteers go to work.
Well, with any ministry, like, it takes an investment and it takes time and it takes consistency, right?
Right.
I know we talk a lot about youth ministry on here, and that's because mainly because I talk a lot. But in youth ministry, like, you know that in order to be effective with teenagers, like, you have to be consistent. So starting a new job as a youth ministry, everyone's like, well, Aaron, what's your game plan? What's your goal? I said, well, my game plan right now is to show how consistent I am with my teenagers now, right? Like, they don't know they had no idea who I was. They never met me before, any of this kind of stuff. And so, I come here and I want to teach them and I want to show them, hey, this is who I am. This is the bar I'm setting for myself. This is who I am. And when a volunteer or a chaperone can do that, then you gain access to this whole different level. I think my biggest holdback is sometimes I think of like volunteering for, hey, we volunteer at our school and we sell concessions, kind of things like that. And there's that idea there where, hey, I just volunteer and I do this. But it always amazes me is the friendships and the things that you build when you do volunteer multiple times at the same place, right? And when we do that in our churches and our volunteers make that commitment, like, oh, I don't just volunteer with the youth group, like, I really help out with the youth group. But I know I'm not volunteering, but I'm still going to, like, check in and go talk to some teenagers just to see how they're doing and what's going on. I think our volunteers, we're talking about today, like, do volunteers ever level up? And I think when a volunteer levels up is when they decide, I care enough that I want to mentor.
Mm-hmm.
I care enough that I want to continue outside of the volunteering bracket to do more. And I think that's what's really powerful. And I think a lot of this is spurring from the fact that we've been reading and studying through this book D2 and discipling others, and we become disciples. And I there's something magical and beautiful about volunteers wanting to disciple and mentor and do more and build those relationships.
Yeah, it's it's not unique to youth ministry either.
No, not at all.
I think of people who come in and really change things. Before COVID, we had a Wednesday night meal. Mm-hmm. So every Wednesday at 5:30, one of our families would prepare a meal. People come in, give $2 or $3 to cover the cost of the food. And it allows families who are kind of busy on Wednesdays to not have to worry about going home and cooking dinner. They show up, give a little donation to help cover the cost. If anything is left, we cover it from the church. And it just takes the stress off of trying to get back up to the building by 6:30 for Bible class.
Right.
And I tell you what, we have some of the most beautiful conversations around that table at 5:30. It's a smaller group, smaller crowd, a little more intimate setting, and it's a really powerful place. Well, there's one lady who said, you know what, I can cook, I don't have the time to cook, but what I will do is I will make sure that before class starts, this kitchen is clean. Someone has already gone to the effort to cook and to prepare and to serve. Every Wednesday I am here, they will not have to clean up.
That's
and
awesome.
So, yeah, once everyone goes through, they start walking in, they start putting stuff away, they start cleaning and wiping down dishes and counters. And it's just that, and, she's good at it. And that's where she feels like she can really just come in and serve. And nobody asked her to do that. She just saw a need, and she saw a way that she could fill that need.
You know what's powerful about that is I would get so upset if anybody would try to, like, take that away and say, well, that's not really volunteering.
Right.
Because I'll tell you this as a paid staff member, if I had somebody who said, hey, I am terrified and terrible of teens, but at 6:55, I will show up at the lock-in and I will clean that church building for the youth group so that, Aaron, when it's 7 o'clock, you can just go home.
Right.
I would probably fall over dead. Like, I would just be like that is so, one, that's a service to me, and two, it's a service to the church, and then three, I would still make the teens clean, and I would then make the teens thank that person, and then, because that is just like, that's such a powerful and such an awesome way to serve. We talk about this quite a bit, like it's really cool to do events, and it's really fun to, like, host events, and people are really quick to leave events
Right.
and leave everything there. You know, I was actually kind of floored. This Sunday we did our senior banquet, and it was over, and everybody stood up, and everyone cleaned off their table, and everyone helped pack up all the decorations, and everyone like, I was like, what is going on? This is a lot of people who are putting things. I had elders and all sorts of other, like, they were just packing up and putting stuff away, and they're like, yeah, Jill, where do you want this? Aaron, where do you want this?
Right.
You know, all sorts of stuff. And I was kind of overwhelmed because I'm used to just kind of like everyone leaving and then using that solace to kind of like pack up and everything. But, you know, it was powerful, you know, and
Yeah.
it was literally like, hey, we need you to leave so we can go close the gate now, you know, because we've gotten everything else. Are you sure we got everything else? You know, I got this toothbrush, I'll scrub, you know, kind of. And I'm like, no, just like leave. It's okay.
Well, you know, our volunteers can change camp when it comes to those kind of events. Hey, your camp cook, your camp kitchen staff, you know, they can make things go really, really well for you. Mm-hmm. You know, if your kids are fed and happy and satisfied, they're much easier to guide and maintain.
Happy cooks, happy camp.
That's right. You know, our counseling staff, man, there's been so many camps where we have had, you know, every camp there's one or two counselors that come in that just really change things.
Yeah, for sure.
They really set a tone for that group of kids. They really engage that Sherpa mentality that we were talking about. And it really is powerful, you know, when that comes around. I remember, you know, I think my best event at 151st Street was when one of my parents said, hey, let me take over this service project. And I was like, okay. I kind of like doing the service projects, but I'll let you take this over. And so he did, and he made this service project where, you know, they were washing each other's feet. And I don't know how he got some of these guys to engage this, because some of these people he was getting to engage this activity of washing someone else's feet, like wouldn't even answer a yes/no question in class.
Right? Yeah,
You know?
right.
And I was like, dude, this is awesome. And I'm sitting back here watching volunteers coming in, pouring into our kids and our parents, because it wasn't just kids. It was kids and parents alike all in this service activity together. And just really, really powerful moments where volunteers come in and completely change the direction of an event or an activity
Speaking
in a
of
positive way. So
Speaking of camp, like shout out, I had one guy at Tallgrass. He would come out on Wednesday or Tuesday with Sonic drinks for the kitchen staff.
oh
That
yeah,
was
that's
it.
money.
Yeah, like it wasn't about the teens, it wasn't about me, it wasn't about the counseling staff or any of that kind of stuff. Like he just came out and he brought drinks to the kitchen staff, told them they were doing a great job. He appreciated them, and like he would text them, find out what they wanted, bring them these Sonic drinks, and then he would leave. Like he wouldn't even stay for a meal. That wasn't his job. His idea was just to come and give them like, hey, here's Sonic drink, because it's delicious, and then he would just leave.
And you deserve it.
And you deserve it. And I mean, I'm just like, man, that is a ministry, and that is so cool. Like when you go to support the people who are supporting other people, you're like a sneaky supporter, you know?
That's right.
It's like this really cool thing. And so that just made me think of that when you talked about camp there for a moment. It's pretty impressive.
It is. It is really impressive. And like you said, we all have good ideas. We all have some bad ideas as well.
For sure.
But a bad idea attempted in a good spirit, we can always learn from, you know.
Right, yeah.
So I think, you know, when it comes to, you know, volunteers who have leveled up, that usually happens, like I said before, when I have the maturity to recognize when my own ego is getting in the way, to step aside and allow something to be delegated, and then say, you know what, now that this is delegated, it's not my responsibility anymore. My responsibility in this part of this activity or this event is to be the biggest supporter I can possibly be in this moment.
Right? Yeah.
And when we get to that place, what you find is that our people are really good at what they do. God's people are really good at what they do, especially those people who have volunteered their time to be in this space. And they have done things that people have come, like somebody came up to me after one of our events and they said, dude, that was awesome. I don't know how this happened. And I said, I really appreciate that, but I'm really not the one you need to be talking to, because all the awesomeness came from this guy and this lady over here who really came through for us and really changed the dynamic of what I had something good planned, and they turned it into something spiritual and something awesome. I had an event planned that I thought was really going to connect people and connect them to God. They came in here and they brought a wave of the Holy Spirit that just put this thing on steroids and took it to a place I never could have dreamed. So I'm really, really glad that you experienced that, and I will take that praise and I will give it where it's due, because those are the kind of things that we really live for as ministers, right? Is seeing our people come through and recognize the gifts that they have to offer. Because every single one of us has a different talent, a different gift, and a different ability, and they are all so necessary for the growth and the maturation of the church. It's just one of those things that just, it makes me kind of look and go, that is what it looks like when the church is working together and working well.
And there's something more to, like, more than just showing up and being there and being a part of it. Like when a volunteer wants to be more than just someone who shows up, hey, tell me what you want me to do. Like, it's good to have the mentality of, hey, tell me what you want me to do and I'll just do it. But when a volunteer says, hey, I'd love to be more, I'd love to help plan, I'd love to do more, like, in a lot of senses, that's really great. I have some volunteers right now I'm thinking of who they're like, hey, we want to continue to volunteer, we want to continue to do this, but we just want some direction. Just give us direction, And so it's been that's a real blessing as well. But when a volunteer comes and they want to be invested and more a part of it, and they do some research and they want some help with some ideas, or they say, hey, what's your idea? How can I run with that? Great. Let me do more than just be the person who just kind of shows up. Now, showing up is like the first step. And I think level up is a really great phrase and a thing for us to use to describe it, because like we all have to start somewhere, and then as we continue to go up, it gets better and better,
Yeah. As we kind of look here, I'll give you kind of my idea of what I think the behind the beards moment is, at least for me, and you can reflect on it as well, because it is different for the different contexts we are in. As a preaching minister, I need something different than I needed as a youth minister, just because of the nature of the work. For me, I think there's this moment where we need to realize from both sides of the aisle. Number one, as a minister, what I need to understand is, in order for me to grow and mature as a Christian and as a minister, I need to have those places in the church where I can be a participant and a cheerleader, and a volunteer. But someone that just comes as one who just comes, not as the planner and the executor of all the things.
Right.
And if I am always serving one purpose, I'm never growing, I'm never maturing, I'm just continuing to do the same things over and over again.
Yeah.
And even though it's not easy for me to do, I've got to be able to do that. From the other side of it, from people who are just in the church in a different role, they need to know that volunteers aren't just placeholders. They are crucial. They are crucial pieces of this puzzle that makes things work effectively, work efficiently. And they can completely level up themselves as volunteers. They can also level up our events by showing up and bringing the gifts that God has given them to the table, and being willing to take control of some little piece of it and just say, hey, this is mine. And because I have said this is mine, that means you don't have to worry about it anymore. I got you. And we're going to do something special with this. So desperately needed. In order for the church to function the way it was designed to function. The thing's going to be really boring if it's all just about me, my planning, my ability, and my wants. Everything's going to end up being the same.
Absolutely.
And so we need those people to come in and inject that new life into what it is that we're doing. So find a little place where you can do it, and just make it known, and then follow through.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Behind the Beards moment for me is just to remember, like, to be a volunteer and to jump in there, and to don't be afraid to, like, go and make church and church programs and other things a serious part of your life. I mean, we volunteer for a lot of stuff, and like I just feel like if Christianity, if following Jesus, if all this kind of stuff is a major part of your life, then it's going to be a major part of your life.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, it's going to be something that you volunteer for. It's something that you're going to want to help out with. It's something that you want to invest your time in, and that kind of stuff. So I think we can all think about somebody who volunteered or mentored us in some way, and it kind of starts with that volunteering aspect. And so that's for me. Another one is, man, I am so thankful for wives and husbands of ministers who just like jump in there and really help. I mean, they're probably like the top volunteers in the entire world. They do a whole lot, so thankful for that.
And kind of forced into it.
And kind of forced into it, yeah. You know. So hey, but we want to thank you guys for being here today. The banner is up, Galatians 6:9. Don't grow weary in doing good. So we got to close the show down. But anyway, thank you guys for being here. We appreciate it. Email us, text us, whatever it is. Let us know what you want us to talk about, so that we can continue to create content that is worthy to occupy some of your time. But this world is messy and life is messy. So let's be different. Let's allow Christ to use us to do something different, something good in His name. I'm Aaron, and this is Josh, and we'll see you next week on Behind the Beards.
Yeah, we're all growing a beard. A man's face should never be bare. We just want some facial hair. We're anticipating, yeah, everyone's waiting for a beard.
It'll either be Josh added